Hi everyone, today we're going to be making strawberry rhubarb pie. I already have this recipe in my videos, but the quality of the video is like very outdated since it was probably like 4 years ago that I made that video. So I thought I'd go ahead and redo it, and this time I would kind of walk you through the steps. I think at one point my memory card ran out. So anyways, so we're going to make strawberry rhubarb pie, and you're going to need, of course, strawberries and rhubarb. I use fresh strawberries and fresh rhubarb. I'm really not sure if you could use frozen. I would think not, because I think it would make your pie too mushy. So anyways, what we're going to do first is I have about 6 stalks of rhubarb. And this, I just bought this at the store, so I'm not really sure. I think it's called Ruby Red, but I'm really not sure what kind it is. But this is really good. I like this kind, and my papaw grows some that's like the green color, and it's like the really fat stalks, and that's really good too. But this is all they had at the grocery store, so this is what I'm going to use today. And how I prep it is I cut off the ends. You want to be able to... Let me grab a better knife. What I do is I cut off the ends, and then I take a paring knife and sort of go through and pull off all the strings. And it's kind of like celery. It's very stringy, and that probably wouldn't, you know, be too good in your pie. But it's really easy. You just pull it off just like this. And then if you have any little bits, you can just pull those off as well. And then what I'm going to do after I have this all the rhubarb strung, is I'm going to just cut it into like little pieces. They don't need to be very big. They don't need to be very thick. Then I'm going to put all of my rhubarb, once I have it all chopped up, I'm going to just put it into a big bowl. Then after all of your rhubarb is chopped up, we're going to work on the strawberries. I wanted to mention that you'll need about 3 cups of rhubarb, so that's probably about 6 fairly long stalks of rhubarb. And now I'm going to go ahead and get started on my strawberries. And all I do is I just cut off the tops, and then I'm going to just quarter them, and then I'm going to throw them over into the bowl with my rhubarb. I wanted to mention that it depends on the size of your strawberries of how big you want to cut them. Like for this one, this is fairly big, so I will probably quarter it and then cut that again, just so that the pieces aren't too huge. They're going to cook down a little bit in the pie, but you don't want to have like huge big pieces of strawberries with your little tiny pieces of rhubarb. You want to have about a cup of strawberries total, and to the rhubarb and to the strawberries, we're going to add a cup of sugar. You can add more or less, it just depends on how tart you like your pie. Rhubarb is very tart to begin with, and strawberries, you just never know if they're going to be really sweet or really sour. So you can, what I would do is I would taste the strawberries, and if they seem to be a little bit too sour, then you might want to add just a little bit more sugar. And we're also going to add about a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And also you want about 3 tablespoons of tapioca. And this is going to just help to really thicken the juices around the strawberries and the rhubarb. And then you want to mix this all up. Be sure that it's all evenly coated with the sugar and the tapioca. And then you just want to let it sit for a few minutes so that all the juices will come out of the strawberries and out of the rhubarb. I wanted to mention that this is the kind of tapioca that you want. This is the minute tapioca. You want something that's quick cooking so that it will, because the pie doesn't take super long to cook, so you want something that's going to be kind of quick, and it's going to also soften in your strawberries as the juices start coming out, so that'll help to really thicken it up and make it delicious and ooey and gooey. I'm going to use a store-bought pie crust. This is just one that's in the refrigerated section, and you want to let it come to room temperature so that you can roll it out. If you roll it out or try to unroll it while it's just fresh out of the fridge, it's going to crack and be a mess and make you mad, because I've done that several times. So what I do is I'm going to actually be using this, one of these throwaway pie plates, because I'm making this for my uncle for his birthday. So I'm just going to use one of these so that he can take it home and not have to worry about getting my pan back to me. So this is just a small, I think it's like maybe 8-inch. But if I was using one of my regular larger pie plates, I would roll this out a little bit just to kind of stretch it so that it fits perfectly in my pan. And what I do is I just roll it out on my counter. Make sure your counter is nice and clean, of course. And then I just fold it into a triangle, and then I lay it right in the pie pan. And you can try to make the tip of your triangle to get it in the middle of the circle as best as you can. If you can't, I mean, that's fine. You don't have to be like OCD about it or anything. And then what I do is I just sort of lift the pie crust and press it down, you know, down into the corners of the pan. And then that way I'm not pulling on it, because if you pull on it as you're baking it, it'll tend to like shrink up. You don't want that to happen, because that would not be a good thing. So once I've done that, then you can see I've got like major issues here with it not being very even at all. But that's okay, because we're going to cut all of that off. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my little paring knife that I used, and I'm just going to go like right along the edge and just trim that off. And this is totally optional. If you don't want to do this, if you'd rather just kind of pinch it together with your top crust, that would be perfectly fine. I just think this kind of makes a neater looking pie, personally. And then you can save this and put it on your baking pan if you want, so you can snack on it later. I love pie crust. Alright, so make sure that that's all in there nice and neat. So once you have that in there, your strawberries and rhubarb should be nice and juicy and delicious. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually spoon this into the pie, and then that way I have more control over like the evenness of the fruit, because you don't want like all the strawberries over here and then all the rhubarb over here, because that wouldn't be like a very fair pie, because everybody wants some strawberries and everybody wants some rhubarb. You do want to get all of those juices in there. And then spread it around nice and evenly. And as you can see, like I've got all these strawberries over here. And then I've got all this rhubarb over here. So I'm just going to kind of spread it around all nice. I'm going to take the top crust and unroll it. At this point, if you wanted to have like maybe a decorative little top, you could go ahead and do that. Sometimes I just cut like little stars or hearts, and then I take them and just lay them on top of the pie and just sort of give it like that little cute effect. I don't really think my uncle cares what the pie looks like, so I'm not going to do that. So I'm just going to do like I did before. Make it into like a little triangle. And then I'm going to bring my pie over here and just lay this right on top. And as you can see, there's like a nice little edge to it. So what I do is I sort of press it down like on the inside of the pan, just like this. You don't have to do it real, you can be gentle with it, but just enough to where it's like kind of domed around the fruit. And I take a fork and I just go in and press that down so that the crusts will be like smushed into each other. I have such great technical terms for this. After I've went around the whole edge with my fork, I'm going to go back through and take my knife and just cut off this extra little crust. And all you have to do is just go right along your pie plate and it'll just come right off. It helps to use like a really sharp knife, or I have this little paring knife that has like a serrated edge, so that makes it even that much more easier. Once you have all the excess dough off of your pie plate, you want to just go in here and just pinch it. And what I do is I take one finger and go kind of under the dough, and then I take these two fingers and just pinch all the way around. And if if your dough is kind of separated there, you can just sort of pinch it together. I'm not the most perfect pie pincher. What do you call it? Pie crust maker. Once you have your edges all crimped together, you want to go ahead and make some slits in here so that the steam will escape. And what I do is I just like cut like 4, like 2 across from each other and then 2 more across from each other. Or if you want, sometimes I make little hearts or little designs if I want to get all fancy. So what I'm going to do is put this on a baking sheet, because my pies have been known to sort of bubble over and make a huge mess. And I'm actually going to line the cookie sheet with like some parchment paper so that if it does, it doesn't like stick on my pan, because I'm not going to lie, this stuff is hard to get off when it's baked onto a pan. And after that, I'm going to cover this with foil and let it bake for about 45 minutes at 375 degrees. And then after that 45 minutes, I'm going to take the foil off and just let the crust brown. And that'll probably be about another, I don't know, 10 to 15 minutes. But I will let you know all the times and everything when the pie is done.